Hello students, so today we're continuing with the revision of classes and object for C++. So in the previous video we discussed about classes and objects and then some examples based on the class and objects and then the data members and member functions. So in this video we shall discuss about access specifiers. So what are access specifiers? So as you can see here, access specifiers provide restriction on the class members. So there are three types of access specifiers: private, public, and protected, which determines the accessibility of the members. So based on these access specifiers, that is this private, public, and protected, how the members of the class will be accessed by the objects or the functions or the non-member functions is based on these three access specifiers. So the first one is the public access specifiers. The keyword public makes the members accessible outside the class. So when you declare a class, so you can see that the members and the member functions that are defined within this class can be used only within this class. But when you declare it as public, right, so here the members which are declared inside the class, it can be accessible from outside the class also. That means from the by the object or by other classes also. So the object member functions, that is this member function, so the object suppose like employee EMB, right, and even the non-member functions can access the public class members. So it remains visible, right? Any part of the program can easily access this public members. So data hiding is not done in case of public access specifiers. So here public member functions are accessible by any calling programs within the scope of the object. So as in within the program, within the scope of this object program, so the member functions are also can be called by any of the calling function in any part of the program. So as you can see here, the keyword is public. It's then you have the colon, right? So here the members and this member function, so this is made accessible to the outside of the class, all right? Next is the private access specifiers. So here private members are accessible only by the member functions of its class. So this you can see here, this is the private members and the member functions are public. The member functions can also be made private also, but however there should be a public member function so that the objects of its class can access this private member function through that public member function. If the member functions are made private, even the object cannot access the any of the private members. So private members are accessible only by the member function of its class. Data is hidden from any outside access, which is called as data hiding. So that means it provides maximum level of security. So the members are not accessible by outside of the program, outside of its class. So within its class only, the members can be made available. So non-member functions and even its objects cannot invoke a private member function using the dot operator. So a private member function can be called only by another member function of its class. So if suppose this void input data is private, so you need another member function of that class. Suppose this is public, so in that case only the public member function can access the private member function and the private members. So an object cannot access the private members, but it can be invoked using the public member function. So here all members of a class are private by default. So if you do not write down the keyword here, by default all the members of the class is private, right? So you can see that here you can have private, you can have public. This can also be made as private access specifiers. Now, protected access specifiers, this is implemented in the concept of inheritance, which we shall see later on. So it behaves like a private access specifier, right? The members can be accessed by members of its own class. So these protected members, it can be accessed by the members of its own class and any members in a derived class. So when we talk about inheritance, we are talking about the base class, derived class, where we can have multiple classes, so which is not described in the classes and objects chapter. But here, since we have already taken the inheritance, so I'm sure that you are familiar with the concept of the base class and derived class. So the member of its own class, so these protected members can be accessed by the members of a derived class. So protected members of base class can be inherited by, so it can be inherited by derived class and accessible to member functions in the derived class. So the member functions of the derived class can access the data members of the protected base class. So in this particular example, if you see that the members, that is the data members and the member functions, are declared as protected. So here the protected member functions prototype declaration. So as you can see here, another class is declared, is defined here, which is the name of the class is class manager. And so this is a derived class. As you can see that, how do you know that it is a derived class? Because you have the colon here, and you can see that the class name is mentioned here, that is this class, so which is inherited as public. So which means that the protected members can be accessed by this class manager. So this is the derived class. So that means it can access this, it can avail these data members as well as the member functions. So here in the derived class, you can see that a member function is invoked. So void get underscore data. So now in the next line, you can see that using the scope resolution operator, the function gets called. This is the calling function and this is the call function. So in the call function body, you can see that input underscore data. So this function gets invoked, which belongs to the base class. So using the derived class member function, you can see that the base class member function can be invoked. So the protected members can be accessed by the base by the derived class member functions, right? So we shall see more of this in the inheritance chapter. Now, array of class objects. So we can declare an object of a class. We can declare an object of a class as an array of class objects, which is locally or can be done globally. Now, hence, multiple objects of each class can be declared using array. So using this array concept, we can declare multiple objects of a class simultaneously. So here we have a normal object class declaration, that is employee. This is the class name, this is the object. You can see that two objects are declared, emb1, emb2. So if we have to do a normal class declaration for an object, then if we have to declare for 10 employees, then it has to be in this way: emb1 comma emb2 comma emb3 comma till emb10. But using an array to declare objects, a class object, that is array of class objects, you can see that employee class name, and this is the object, and this is an array. So these objects becomes an array of index 10. So which means that it can declare, or it can create 10 employees. So instead of using this formula, or instead of using these steps, you can see that using the array of class objects, right, we can automatically declare 10 employees and then enter the 10 employees information. So if you see in this particular program, so you can see that here you have declared a constant value, that is int max. So this max variable, which is of integer type, has been declared as a constant, which means that this value 10 will not change for this variable max. It will remain constant, or it will not change throughout the lifetime of this program. So here in this class employee, the members are declared as public and private, and the member functions are declared as public. So in the main function, you can see that when you are declaring the object through the class, the within the subscript, the variable max has been mentioned, which means that this will declare the object EMB for 10 employees. So in place of this max variable, 10 will be placed, so which will declare, so using this class it declares 10 EMB objects. So when the for loop, so whenever we're using array, we always use the for loop. So as long as this for loop is true, so it will enter the employee information, 10 employee information, right? EMB 0, EMB 1, EMB 2 till EMB 9. So that means 10 employees information, that is 10 employees name, employee code, employee designation, employee salary will be entered, right? So you can see that the object is used to invoke the public member function. So when the member functions are public, then the object can invoke that particular member functions to assign the values to the data members. But if it is a private member function, the object cannot access the private member functions or the private data members. So similarly, the object is invoking the public member function to display the data, right? So yeah, so students, you go through these access specifiers and the programs that are given in the textbook for the access specifiers, all right, and then the area of class objects programs, okay. And if you find any difficulty in those programs, okay, you can ask those doubts and clear it from me, all right.